You know, there are just some things that just kind of they push me over the edge. Like I wanted to do a video on this for a long time, but I never really had a reason. I did, but I just nothing pushed me to the edge until now. Sup guys, this is the Power Up Mushroom, and I am gonna be, this is a rant video guys, so if you guys, you haven't heard me rant in a while, it actually has been a little bit, so if you guys just want to sit back, relax, and enjoy this rant, because we're gonna be talking about DLCs. Now, DLCs, they've been around, they're nothing new, they've been around forever, like going all the way back to like the Dreamcast. If I'm correct, I'm pretty sure the Saturn did something, but they weren't as big until really that 360 and the PlayStation 3 came out. That's when DLCs they picked up. They were picking up in those MMOs for like Final Fantasy 11, World of Warcraft. They were there, but really you didn't see the DLCs hit mainstream until the 360 and PS3. Now, most of you guys are probably going to be wondering, like, why did you all of a sudden decide now to do a rant on DLCs? Well, let me tell you. I was at, okay, so like, you know how GameStop, they give you like a coupon for like 20% off a game or whatever. I just decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to use that coupon because it was my birthday month, So I was going to GameStop and I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to pick up Dead or Alive 5. I love the Dead or Alive series. I just never picked up the 5th game. And so yeah, I went and picked up Dead or Alive 5 last round. And I didn't know this. I thought last round was like, oh, it's gonna come with all the DLC and stuff. So I go ahead, walk in, pick it up, come home, pop it in my console and everything. And sure enough, I start playing the game and like there's costumes that are locked, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can unlock these costumes through gameplay. No, most of these costumes you have to buy season passes for. Each costume set has a season pass, and these costumes, the season passes give you. So there's been a couple I've seen like 35 costumes, some are like 100, but there are 7 season passes for Dead or Alive 5. 7 season passes. And these season passes, they're not like, oh yeah, $20 for a season pass type thing. No, these season passes are $73.99 each. And there's 7 of them. Not to mention, the 7th one is straight up $104. Like, if I'm correct, is it $104? It was $100. Like, straight up. $100 for a season pass. And these season pass, they legit just cover a season. Like, 3 months. That is a season. So, winter season, yeah, $70, 3 months, you get the costume sets. Now, I've seen a lot of people online, they argue, oh, well, you're not going to use all the costumes. And you know what? I can agree with that. You're not going to use all the costumes for Dead or Alive 5. But, like, I can't believe $100 for costume sets. And some of these costumes you can't even like buy individually. There are some that they're like, oh yeah, you want this costume for you're gonna have to cough up the season pass money because you're underneath that. And it's so frustrating. Something like that, it legit threw me over the edge because I'm like, you know what, DLC, I have to do a video about my problem with DLCs. And now, like, this is my main problem. A lot of fighting games do this, where they finish characters. Specifically, I'm looking at NetherRealm, where they'll finish a fighting game like Injustice 2 or Mortal Kombat. They'll have a character in there that has all their movesets, and they're there, but they lock it behind a paywall. Like, it's there on day one, you just can't get it until a month later, or you pre-ordered the damn game, and it's going to cost you $10. $10 for a character that's already finished, that you bought, that's on your disc. It's already on the disc. It's there, you purchased it, you bought it, and you're paying to unlock more of the disc. You know what that's like? That's like me selling you a burger with no meat. And you're just kind of like, yo, I just bought that burger off you. Where's the meat? And then I'm just like, yo, you're going to have to pay me an extra $10 if you want the meat. I know you bought the burger already, but it's really not the complete burger unless you have the meat. You still need the meat or the cheese, whatever. The point is, you bought that cheeseburger at my restaurant and I didn't give you what you paid for. On the menu, it says that you're going to have all this, but when you get it, it says, oh, but if you want the extra stuff, like the good stuff that makes the food good, you're going to have to pay for it. And really, that's my biggest problem with DLCs now. There's a lot of games now that are released today unfinished. Game developers think they can expand the life cycle of their game just by chopping it up. They get the game, they chop it into pieces, remove it, and they give you like what they call the base game. And the base game isn't even like it's not satisfying at all, because the base game will take you maybe 6 to 9 hours to complete, maybe less. And then a week later, after the game launches, they'll say, oh yeah, pre-order the season pass, or oh yeah, well guess what, we're having a new expansion with all this stuff, you should go pre-order that, or yeah, we put this game out, here's some new maps. And when the game launched with 4 maps, I know, it's frustrating. Things like that piss me off. Then they try to get in the whole games as a service model, and they're trying to prolong your game forever. Look, when DLCs were first coming out, like mainstream for the PS3, Xbox 360, they weren't really called DLCs. They really weren't. Games like Halo, Gears of War, you had freaking Bioshock 2, or just games like that. These games were like, they had DLC, but they're known as expansions. Now, the different expansions are still done today. There are great expansions that are used, like StarCraft, you have World of Warcraft. These are some awesome expansions. They really build on the game that was already made. They'll expand the story. Games like Skyrim, Fallout, all those games, when they release the DLCs, they provide hours and hours of content for like $10, $15 when they were released, when they got released. Now, correction, Halo 3 might have done it, like Microsoft might have done the best and made them get greedy, or Microsoft got greedy and they're like, no, you have to cut these maps out and put them out. But granted, the DLC that they released was at quality. The maps were amazing. You had fun on the maps. The way the way Bungie thought about their games was like, if they were making a map, if the map wasn't fun, they would scrap the map and do another one. They would make sure that map was super fun to play on. That's why Halo 3 has some of the best maps in the entire series. So back to what I was saying, expansions, they really expanded on games. That was an expansion. When Call of Duty came out, the expansions for Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare World at War, those were expansions. Those were like $10, and you put for $10, you get some awesome maps, you play them. My problem when things started happening was when things started escalating. Specifically, Call of Duty started this. This is when Call of Duty started taking over right after Modern Warfare 2. They just thought, you know what, let's just release a crap ton of stuff and let's not put any effort into it. Let's just release stuff just to say that we're releasing stuff. And you know what? That's my problem. Again, like I said, I'm all for expansions. There are games that still do it, like Horizon Zero Dawn. They expanded the game past the story, and the story there was a complete game, and they did an expansion with a whole new area. Just Cause 3, they did an expansion with a new area. These things provide hours of gameplay. When they do DLCs and they're charging $20 a pop, and they're releasing like 4 at a time, and then they include a season pass that's like $80, and then say, oh yeah, well that last DLC that we're going to release, it's not part of the season pass, like cough up another $35. That's my problem, because these maps that are released for games like Call of Duty, or any of the current shooters, they're not really maps that would take any effort. There are people who can make better maps in less than a few minutes. Like these maps, they legit, I'm gonna pick on Call of Duty right now. World War II has maps that just straight up, you have one path. You go left, middle, right. Like, there's no, like depth. There's no like, oh yeah, there's a top tier, like, you know, there's a top floor, there's a bottom floor. There's none of that. Like, there's really none of that in the World War II maps. I'm talking about the base game. I haven't touched the DLCs, but DLCs I haven't touched for Call of Duty in the past, they're all the same. There's no effort put into these things, and really, it's just, it shows how lazy either the developer is or how the publisher just wants to make more money. And that's where my problem lies. Not that making money is wrong, but when you're constantly screwing over the consumer and taking advantage of what, you know, the gamers are buying, that's messed up. Now, I think that's messed up. And nowadays, games like Destiny that are out, and they're just games as a service, they're releasing DLC content that's just, it does nothing. Like, if you bought Destiny 2 and you bought the season pass, guess what? You're screwed. They screw you out of these features that should be in the base game. So if you buy the base game and you're like, you know what, I'll buy this, I won't buy the season pass, I'm gonna just play the base game. Guess what? As the game gets updated, your base game is no longer valid. It's just expired, because whatever you want to do, all the fun stuff that's in the base game, you can't touch it. I'm sorry, because you don't have the expansions. If you want to play the game, I know you paid $60 for this, but you know what? Give me money. That's some of the biggest problems, and some of the other things that I've noticed a lot of fighting games do, like Capcom did it. You know, NetherRealms have done it, like where they have characters, they're in the game, but they just cut them out. Like they're on the disc, and you buy it, and they just said, you know what, you want to unlock that part of the disc, you're gonna have to pay us money. I'm sorry, you know, it sucks to be you right now. Give us, I don't know, give us $15 and we'll let you play as what's his face? We'll let you play as Goro. And also, when it comes down to pre-purchasing a game, they're like, oh yeah, pre-order the game that you can get this DLC early or whatever. It's bullcrap, because everyone's disc has that character on their game disc. The only difference is that someone bought the code to unlock the game disc. It's like freaking, you're buying the game to, like, in order to buy it or like play the game, you have to pre-order it that you can unlock the game. So it's just like, I'm gonna buy the game, but I don't really have the game unless I buy the thing that I was supposed to unlock the game with. It's just, it's so stupid. Like, what the heck? It's useless. Why? Like, problems lie when also, like, when the DLC, they could be unlockable content. Really, back then, video games, like fighting games, you know, there's shooters like Star Fox Assault, you know, just different things like that. There were things you have to do in the game to get armor, customization options, characters, tablets, or not tablets, nameplates or something. Like, really, nameplates didn't matter back then, because you'd play like it'd be 4 people on a couch, but you'd go over to somebody's house, you'd bring your memory card, and you'd be like, yo, I got the super costume or whatever on here. You guys got to try this out. You know, you want to have your costume there. And really, back then, if you didn't unlock the secret level, because there was no DLC really from like the PS2, Xbox, or GameCube. It's like, if you didn't unlock it, it sucks to be you. You're not good enough. And that's what these things, like what held, like, what's DLC content now? Like secret levels, or extra levels, extra characters, costumes, all that stuff used to be unlockable. All that stuff, you would play the game, you would unlock it. You had to do crazy things to do, like, you know, certain things. Halo still held it up. For ODST, how to get recon armor and stuff, you have to do the Vidmaster challenges on the achievements, you know. And people who didn't have the recon armor, it sucks to be them. If you wanted recon armor, you have to get 4 people and go after the Vidmaster achievements. And those Vidmaster achievements, they took skill. Specifically, the Firefight Endure achievement. An Endure achievement where you had to endure 100 rounds of firefight. That was so hard. Very few people got it. Eventually, Bungie just gave it out because, you know, they were leaving, you know, Microsoft or whatever. But DLC nowadays, all the stuff that we're buying as DLC, all that stuff used to be extra content that we would unlock through gameplay. And you don't see that anymore. That never happens. And a lot of people are like, well, players or companies are like, well, you know, everyone should get a chance to get the content. And you know what? Yeah, you're right. But you know what? You're giving them the chance to get the content if you don't, like, just by showing that they're good at it. Like, if I went into a Halo match right now and I have the Hayabusa armor, people, like, let's just pretend Bungie didn't give out the Hayabusa armor or the recon armor. People would look at me and say, wow, that guy went through all those achievements and he worked his butt off to get that armor. He must be a really good player. That's what games used to do. When you used to unlock, like, when you lock stuff behind, like, you know, secrets or whatever, or like achievements back in the day, it used to tell other people that, yo, this guy, he's gone through hell to get whatever he's holding or whatever he's wearing. He unlocked this character. He did all that stuff. And remember, it used to be like, wow, you know, yo, I can't believe you beat that level. That level was so hard. You got that secret level. That was awesome. Stuff like that. You don't see that anymore because everything is like $5 and you can have the secrets right there for you. That's what it was. And you don't really see that anymore in games where you unlock stuff through gameplay or, like, you know, just kind of show off your armor. Now it's all through random loot boxes. It's cosmetics. And really, you can go online. Your character is not unique to yourself because, you know what, you didn't put any effort into it anymore. You really didn't. You just bought it through a paywall. That's what these games, they're kind of showing that, like, they're losing their value because there's no progression system, these games that they have, because everything's locked behind a paywall. And that's what sucks. Now, guys, not to say that, like I said, not all DLC is bad. I've already told you guys some of my examples where I think DLC has really shined, and I thought they've done fantastic jobs with them. And it all comes down to the company that does it. Like, anything I've seen by Activision, Sledgehammer, freaking, like, they just don't care. They just release the game, or like I said, it could be the publisher. It probably is a publisher, specifically EA, Activision, Ubisoft, or Ubisoft, whatever their name is. They don't care about their games. They're pushing stuff out, like with hollow worlds and hollow stuff. Like, there's no play value, because in the next year they're always going to release a new Assassin's Creed. They're always going to release a new Call of Duty. There's always going to be a new Far Cry. I'm not excited about this Far Cry at all. I'm telling you that straight up. There's going to be a Watch Dogs. I'm pretty sure down the line they're doing a third one. And all these games I've played, but you can tell that, like, when the DLC comes out, these are just parts of the games that should have already been in the game. This is not something you should have paid for. You know that sometimes when you buy DLC, people can tell right away that that DLC was meant to be a part of the game, and it was cut out. That way people could play it or pay for it. And that's my biggest problem, is when companies start cutting out parts of the games and they're reselling it to you. Something that should have already been in the game, and it's stupid, it's depressing, and it's messed up, that a lot of people fall for this. And there's some people who, you know, they're not to say that they're not, you know, they don't keep up with the gaming industry. They don't, you know, they're just people who, like, they go to work, you know, they come home, play a few games or whatever, and then they see this new DLC comes out and they're like, oh, well, I gotta expand my game. Next thing you know, the moment you buy the DLC, a new game's already coming out. These are people who they don't follow the industry, and they don't know how they're being screwed over. They're just trying to, you know, expand their playtime. I mean, not to say that that's bad. If they're getting enjoyment out of it, then you know what, that's great. If you get enjoyment out of those DLCs, that's fine. But I'm telling you right now that if, like, you might be enjoying it, but in all reality, there's a lot of things that should be kept in a game. And a lot of people might just reason like, well, the games are super expensive to make. Well, let me tell you something. Little study. I'm gonna use this. I use example all the time. The Witcher 3. I think their budget was like 40 million or something, and like Destiny 1 was 350 million. It was around there. It was super high. And look at the quality games that's come out. A lower budget made by, you know, a team that, you know, they care about their audience, they care about the game, and the DLCs that came out, they're full expansions for the game. And it's really, the game still lives on today. Like, people still talk about The Witcher 3 all the time. Destiny 1, on the other hand, you had this huge blockbuster budget with all this advertisement campaign. Yeah, your game's sold, but is anybody talking about Destiny right now? Is anybody talking about it? Does anybody care about the first Destiny? Not really, because what you did was you threw your game out unfinished, and then you just divided the season pass to where, like, it doesn't cover any of the expansions. Not even the House of Wolves expansion makes sense anymore. Like, you can't even get your playtime value out of that. It doesn't matter, because if you don't have the Taken King or the complete edition with the Iron, the Rise of Iron DLC or whatever, your game is worthless. And that's the biggest problem. It's one of the biggest problems. It's just it's all depending on the company and the publishers, and it's sad to see where the industry goes. But a lot of people, they are picking up on it and they are retaliating against it. Specifically, Battlefront 2. Look, we got free DLC, but you know what? They still put in microtransactions, something that affected the game. But recently, there was an outcry, and they just changed that to where there's a progression system now. So this does show that the companies are listening. If you speak with your wallet and you don't fork over the money that these companies want for something that you should have gotten, that you paid $60 for, they have no choice but to just bend to your will. That's the truth. Because look, you got EA on your knees. For people who didn't purchase the game, people who didn't buy into those microtransactions, people who spoke out and tweeted them and all that stuff, those people who did it, y'all got like way more than like anything. I didn't think EA would do it. They took out DLC, they took out microtransactions, and then they like, you know what, let's throw in a progression system because we don't want you guys to not buy our game. But really, if you go to like Target or something, the shelves are full of Battlefront 2s, or Best Buy. Like, you know, like you go to Best Buy, I saw shelves and shelves of Battlefront 2. Nobody bought it. But that, like I said, that just shows you speak with your wallet. The companies, they'll realize like, hey, the consumer is not stupid. We shouldn't do that. And I hope one day games like Call of Duty and, you know, like just those AAA titles that are just, they're cash-ins, quick cash-ins that are nothing. I hope that one day they realize that they can't keep on doing what they're doing. They're going to have to go back. They need to be creative. A lot of these companies are getting lazy, and you know what? It's time that, you know, all that is kind of put to the side, that, you know, being uncreative and everything. Really, they got to get creative again, because a lot of people, I'm pretty sure companies are going to start to realize that, yeah, nobody's going to be falling for that in the future. So, anyways, that's my rant. Like I said, that Dead or Alive DLC pushed me over the edge. Granted, like I said, not a lot of people are going to buy the costumes, but enough of my rant. It was a long rant, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Really, if you guys like this rant, if you want me to talk about anything else, my problems with something in the gaming industry, I'm pretty sure I have more stuff that I could just think of, but oh my god. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, upvote. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. And remember, guys, when you guys are gaming, power up.